Yay! Here we are. My headset mic lost its batteries today, so I have the double mic setup going on here. That's also why I'm using the headphones, but hopefully it's still pretty clear. Welcome. My name is Josh Kane. This is Studio 101. This is the studio that I run out of my home in New Haven, Connecticut, and we talk about spiritual stuff. The I that is we, talks about spiritual stuff and music and yoga. All right. I'm not sure how many days it's been. I think it's been almost a month I've been doing the Satsang. And it's definitely brought a lot of joy into my life. And it's helping to ride the wave of reality that is sweeping all of us up right now into this this new reality that we're all part of. And if you're not anchored into something to help keep you sane, to help keep you healthy, to help give you a barometer for your experience, then it's really easy to go off the rails with all kinds of things, with food, with sex, with drugs, with relationships. And having time to ground in, having time to reflect and know that you are a whole person, that you are healed, and that you are loved, and that the things that you're going through on the inside, they don't reflect who you really are. And stuff that's going on the outside doesn't really reflect who you are. It's a reflection of the material world that you interpret. And in that interpretation, the process of your interpretation of the material world. What is the material world? It's Earth. It's the lives that we live, the personalities that we have. I'll adjust this a little bit. It's much better, yeah. It's the body, this physical body, and everything that we associate with our senses. So what I can touch, what I can smell, what I can see, what I can taste, those are those things, those signals, those impressions are what we would call the material world. And sometimes what happens is we get stuck associating ourselves with this material world. And we forget that even though we have a body, we're not the body. Even though we have a mind, we're not the mind. These are things that I did not discover on my own. These are things that I was taught. So everything that I'm sharing with you are things that come from having good teachers, having a willingness to learn and a willingness to open my mind to new things. So that's a really good place to start, is if you're finding this for the first time, and you're like, Bhagavad Gita, or I heard about Josh, I heard about his yoga classes, and I want to check out what other stuff he does on his YouTube channel. Well, this is a place where you need to have an open mind. It's absolutely essential and you have to be a little bit tolerant with me, because early in the morning, I'm all sniffly and stuffy with allergies. So I just sniff a lot. I always have tissues. All right, back to this. So you have to have an open mind, because some of the things that I'm going to discuss here, they're going to stretch the limits of your imagination. And you might feel like you're being asked to You're being asked to believe in something different, or you're being asked to become something different. And just by considering this idea, considering the notion that divinity, the energy and the essence of divinity, was able to manifest itself in human form with a personality that was then, that's too cold, that was then able to create, through a divine system of circumstances, a conversation between itself and a legendary warrior, a man named Arjuna. And Arjuna not only comes from royal birth, but he comes from divine birth. He wasn't born and conceived like other humans. Neither were his brothers. His brothers and him were conceived because his mother was gifted a mantra, a very special mantra, which is it's a phrase. But the phrase, the mantra, what's different than a phrase, like "Hi, how are you?" is like, that's a phrase, right? It has meaning. It's used as a greeting. It lets somebody know. It sends out the signal of, hey, I'm polite. I'm asking you how you're doing. So that's a phrase. The mantra, however, is different. The mantra, the syllables and the words that are used describe a particular intention that's intended, that is meant to manifest a state within the speaker that is transcendental and sends out a vibration that then will return something back. It will actually manifest something. So my hello, how are you, is a phrase that might respond, that might manifest back, oh, I'm good, thanks, how are you? But the mantra is actually something that's used to call out and say to a deity or to a god or to some higher force, some special entity, to call on an essential quality of the universe and call that into existence. So this mantra that she was gifted allowed her to call to any deity and ask for a request and make a wish would be granted from that deity. So what she did was, because her husband could not lay with her and conceive children with her, he asked if she would use this mantra to call to the deities, to call to the gods, and bring him kids and bring him sons. And so that's what she did. And then she shared the mantra with her co-wife. I don't know what you call that, but with her husband's other wife, and then she had 2 kids as well. So Kunti had 3 children, and then the other wife, I forget her name. She had 2. So of those 5 brothers, Arjun is one of them. He's the greatest archer, and he's a loving, trusted, loyal friend to the Lord in human form, who is Krishna. And the Bhagavad Gita is a conversation that takes place as part of a larger story. It's called the Mahabharata. I actually just discovered a cartoon version of the Mahabharata on Netflix last night. I tried to watch it and it was just awful. It's not it. It's not that it's awful. It's that there's a certain standard of, because they made that. I would have, compared to what I would make, that's amazing. What they made compared to what I would make is incredible. So I have to give them that credit. The fact that they made that whole movie, we got the voiceovers, they got the animation. It's incredible. However, compared to the standards of what we know now for animation and for movies and stuff like that, it's a little bit behind the times. But it doesn't matter, because it's transcendental knowledge and spiritual information, and you do your best to take the where I want to wear. Like me, for example, I'm not the best dressed person here right now. I'm not in a professional studio. I don't have I don't have all the finest stuff and I don't have it all together, you know what I mean, in terms of like my production ability. Like, you know, I'm just kind of going with what I got. But my best hope is that the content is something that creates a beautiful experience and that you're able to look past the external qualities of, you know, my setup and my stuff. And that's also where you have to keep an open mind, because you might be looking at a lot of other YouTube videos and be like, wow, I'd much rather watch that video because it looks like they're all pro. They've got their backdrop all set and the sound is perfect and all that stuff, you know, but then what are they selling you? You know, what are they asking you to believe? Hopefully it's something good. Hopefully you're actually getting the content is meaningful and inspiring for you. And I do hope to get to that point one day. This is all just a personal rambling, by the way. It's me completely taking off the rails. But sometimes that's what happens when you're, you know, doing this alone, and you know, the truth comes out. There's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, the movie is cool, and you can watch it. There's also on YouTube there is a there's a version of the Mahabharata which is, it goes chapter by chapter and it does these quick summaries, and it's this drawn animation and it explains it so well. I'll have to share it on my Instagram. I might be able to find it now. Let me see here. I'm gonna take a look. Hold on. And then we'll sing, and then we'll get into the Bhagavad Gita. But I want to share this because I think that having an understanding of the Mahabharata, and it is, like, I read the Gita many times and I listened to the Gita many times, but then once I learned from my teacher and from this resource, like what the actual overall story is, it really, really helped to like solidify just how significant it is, like how significant this story and this song, the song Celestial, are. That's what Bhagavad Gita means, by the way. It means the song Celestial. And side note, it is meant to be sung. All of the verses that are in this book and that are in the Mahabharata are not only are they poetry, but it's poetry that's meant to be sung. All right, let's see here. Okay, so it's the Epified, Epeified, the Epified Mahabharata, and it's volumes 1 to 11, and then there's another set. And then there's 12 to 29. So if you watch that, you'll see it's this very beautiful, drawn out time-lapse animation that tells the whole story so beautifully, so beautifully. And I guarantee you, after watching that, you're gonna feel differently about the Gita. You might even feel differently about yourself and about life as well. It's a very magical story. It's beautiful. All right, so let's do some. I had tea. I'm all over the place today. Slept late. Thanks for reminding me, Claudine, to get my act together. Great student, good friend. Let me find my tea. Me. Oh, there it is. Got it. Okay. All right, so when we are chanting, the idea, the mindset of chanting is different than just the mindset of singing. When you're singing normally, it's a performance-based system. Let me write this down. That is what it looks like. YouTube. Epified. That's the account. So when you're chanting is a meditation. It's meant to clear your consciousness and till the soil, weed out any negative influences in the consciousness. And what can start to happen is, as you're chanting, you might feel yourself holding back a little bit because you don't feel like you're that great of a singer. But it's not about being a great singer. It's about having a love in your heart and a desire to transcend. Right? Desire to transcend your concerns, your self-image, desire to transcend this material existence and get to a place where you feel like through song and through personal creative expression, you're connecting with the divine. And you're connecting with the divine within. So whatever it looks like or sounds like on the outside, you could sound like, you could sound like a sick and dying feline. You know what I mean? You could sound like a 5-year-old trying to learn how to play violin, or an 8th grade saxophone player. I mean, it does not matter what you sound like. What matters is where you call out from within your heart. If you're reaching out and saying, divinity, dear Lord, I'm here. Please hear my prayers, hear my request. For love, for self-love, for self-realization. Please hear my request for freedom. It's a reflection of all of us searching for this place within ourselves that holds contentment, joy, ease. Joy, ease, laughter. And faith. We'll chant for a while, go through a bunch of different chants. Then we'll spend our time at the end talking about the material modes of nature. That's the chapter that we're on now in the Gita. Getting close to the end. Getting very close to the end. So why don't we start with the Gayatri mantra, which is Om Bhur Bhuva Svaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dio Yonah Prachodayat. If you want, you can Google that. You can find that. Or if you have questions about it and you're watching a rebroadcast, you can email me and I'll give you a printout of it. So I'll do the syllables. I'll chant the syllables, and then you can repeat them back. Bhuva Swaha, Bhuva Swaha, Tat Savitur, Tat Savitur, Varenyam, Varenyam, Argo, Devasya, Devasya, Dhimahi, Dhimahi, Dio Yonaf, Dio Yonaf, Prachodayat. I'm watching myself. Clearly my mind is focused on transcendental consciousness right now. Not having a good laugh at my own expense. Right. Okay, so I'm going to chant the whole thing. I'm going to repeat it a few times. And then we'll move on. We'll do the Maha Mantra. We'll do the Gayatri. We'll chant to Radhe. And we're going to chant to Durga today because I got a special message from Durga that I have been actually asking for a while, and it arrived yesterday. So thanks, Durga. You're awesome. Right. Om Bhurvubhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dio Yonaf Prachodayat. I just had this interesting thought, this feeling I really had to check in with. I'm going to share this because it's actually important. And it's a little vulnerable too. So, sitting here, as I started chanting the Gayatri, I was like, oh, check me out. I can say this in Sanskrit. I can sing it. I just explained it, and now I'm going to show everyone how it sounds. Me, 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 me. Oh, isn't this impressive? Isn't this great? Isn't it amazing that I'm able to be on YouTube here sharing this? That is not the consciousness of chanting that we're going for. And it's important, always, 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 humble yourself. Check yourself. What's your state? Are you doing it from a place of ego? Or are you chanting from that place in your heart that is really taking a deep breath and going, Dear Lord, hear me. Hear my cry to you. So I'm going to get out of my humorous state and my playful state right now and try to get into the consciousness of chanting because this is special and I do want this to be reverent. And I'm also just really bothered by the imbalance of sound right now, so let me fix this. That's better. Okay. That's what happens when you're like hear things a certain way, you kind of nitpick it. It's like, yeah, it's a perfectionist thing. Clearly, I'm not that much of a perfectionist because look at my set. Oh, man. Right. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Dear Lord, this is not about me, that this is an act of service. This is an act of service to you. And yes, I'm having fun. Yes, I want to have fun. Yes, I want to enjoy my life. And yes, I want this to appeal to people and to reach them. And that is my best hope. And for right now, it's just you and me. And even with all this stuff set up, even with all this pretense and all this anticipation, may I be able to put myself aside and separate from that, distance from that, and come closer to you, closer to God in my heart, blocking out the senses, blocking out the material world for a little bit, just connecting with this vibration, connecting with this chant.
Hare Rama.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Radhe, 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 Govinda. Oh, Radhe, 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 Govinda. Right from the heart. Radhe, 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 Govinda, Radhe. Oh, Radhe, 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 Govinda, Radhe. Radhe, 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 Govinda, Radhe. So I was calling out to Radhe, Krishna's divine, Radha's divine feminine, the divine masculine and divine feminine together, Sitaram. Sitaram, 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 Sitaram. Sitaram, 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 Sitaram. Right. Now for Durga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Station break, run to the bathroom, and I'll come back and we will have Bhagavad Gita. Yay! All right. Wunderbar. Oh, wow. I feel much better now. Not just because I went to the bathroom, but the chanting. Chanting is great. I just want to do the sniff of all sniffs and then have all my sniffs be gone. Okay. So how we left off. One who knowingly sees the difference between the body and the owner of the body can understand the process of liberation from this bondage and attains to the supreme goal. Liberation from bondage. And being able to know, see, feel, comprehend the difference between the body and the self. This is important. No, it's all important. I say everything's important. But it's not just important according to me. It's important according to the Gita. It's important according to Krishna. It's important according to divinity that in order to free myself, or let me say this a better way. Myself, my true self, is always free. Is always liberated. It's always infinite and abundant and eternal. My perceptions and my beliefs can become trapped and stuck in the modes of material nature, which is what we're going to get into right now. And in order to liberate myself from the association, the false association with the material world, so that I can come back to the remembering of my true self and the remembering of my grace, my divinity, my humility, my connection with all things. There are processes and scientific methods that I can apply to myself, to my thoughts, to my feelings, and to my actions to determine if I'm acting from a place of Krishna consciousness, God consciousness, Christ consciousness, divine consciousness, if I'm seeking through the higher self and acting through the higher self, or if I am stuck in the realms and the modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance. Now, what I was doing in the beginning, even though I'm not using a lot of humor and I'm opening myself up, it's coming from a place of releasing the barriers to the authentic self, releasing this idea that because I'm presenting myself to you, that I have to be presented a certain way to you in order to be approved or liked by you. I don't need your approval. You don't need my approval. The fact that you're alive and the fact that you exist, that is your approval, and you got it from divinity. So if you're seeking, or if I'm seeking approval or validation, or searching for my worth, my lovability, my likability, my be around ability from a validation or a source that is external to me, I'm in bondage. Right? I'm imprisoned. I'm imprisoned by my mind, by the false reality that is external validation, that is the external world. Where if you're listening to this text and you've been following anything that I'm saying, then what you would hear is, out of compassion for them, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. Within your heart lies divinity. I don't mean like it's lying to you as in it's not telling you the truth. I mean it rests there. It lives within your heart. And at all times, the energy of the heart is drawing you back to yourself, to your own innate self-worth. That was gifted to you at the moment of your birth, the moment of your conception. You became, in that moment, a worthy human being. Even if you grew up and people told you that you were worthless, even if you grew up in a broken home, even if you're at a point where, like for me, for example, like my stuff, I can only speak from my own experience. So the fact that I have severe allergies, even though I take a ridiculous amount of medication for it, the fact that I have a ridiculous amount of allergies and I feel super self-conscious about it, it takes a lot of effort. Stupid thing. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of breaking down of my material conditioning to sit here and sniffle into this microphone and still chant and still do this. Because I have to get connected with the fact that I'm not seeking approval for that which is external. I'm trying to connect with God in my heart and share the energy and the enthusiasm that I have for divinity through this medium. And whatever that looks like, it looks like. The people who have purity, or people, not even purity, the people who are, however it's going to be received, it's going to be received. However it's going to be received, it's going to be received. However people are going to see me is how they're going to see me. And they're going to see me based on whatever mode of material nature they're in. I'm going to perceive myself on one level according to whatever mode of material nature I'm in. But I have to learn how to put that stuff aside and say, hey, you got the equipment, you have the desire, you have at least a basic enough understanding to where you can read and you can share this information. That's a blessing. That is a service that you're doing. It's called seva. It's a service that you're doing without seeking reward, without seeking validation, or without seeking praise, just doing it to do it. Doing it because you know that it's the right thing. And that's ultimately why I'm doing this. And it's a really great practice to try to put yourself aside. Put all your stuff aside. Put all your excuses aside for why you're waiting to live your life. And actually live it. Don't wait to be the best singer to start taking singing lessons. Don't wait to be the best guitar player to start taking guitar lessons. Don't wait to be the best business person to start your own business. Don't wait until you feel like you're lovable and beautiful and worthy to have a relationship with someone, especially yourself. You are so valuable and you're so powerful and you're so necessary. And sometimes I'm just going to say this to you as like, your distant friend here. Just setting up my own little yoga block armrest. You are so powerful. You're so beautiful and you're so powerful. And the things that you say to yourself and the way that you say them, I don't like it. I don't like the way that you talk to yourself on the inside. I don't like the fact that you believe all those things that people have said about you. I don't like the fact that you are diminishing yourself and you're diminishing your light because the people around you have a diminished light and you feel like you can't shine your divine light because then it's going to outshine them and then they're going to get upset with you and they're just going to come down on you. Forget that. Shine your light. Be the bright beacon of hope and love and truth and courage, and let other people fall by the wayside if they're going to fall by the wayside. Let them diminish their own light if they're going to do that. But you don't have to do that. You don't have to diminish yourself. You don't have to shine less bright. You don't have to be less beautiful, be less you, because other people don't know how to step into the fullness of themselves. That's got nothing to do with you. It's got nothing to do with you. It doesn't matter if they're your parents. It doesn't matter if they're your best friend. It doesn't matter who they are. They have no right and they have no power over you and your gifts and your dharma and your purpose in this life. And I don't care what religion you are. I don't care what culture you come from. This surpasses all of that. Because if you have a feeling, if you have a burning desire in your heart And let's say just for whatever reason, by some divine circumstance, you happen to be uh, a woman right now tuning into this, and you come from the Middle Eastern religion, like an Islamic faith, where you constantly have to have your face covered. You have to have your whole body covered, right? And it doesn't feel right to you. It doesn't feel good to you. It's never felt good to you. And you feel like in order to truly be yourself, that you have to take that off and you have to let that go. And you know what that will mean for you and for your culture and for your family and for your image. But in your heart, you know that this is what's true because it's just not what serves you. It's not what serves humanity. Then take it off. You know, there's a great documentary about a woman. It's called Unorthodox. And it's about an Orthodox Jewish woman who decides to leave her faith, who decides to leave her community because her community is so toxic, so completely warped. And this is why I have such a huge problem with religion, honestly, because some of these people, they get so wrapped up in the dogma and this twisted nature of community that comes from religion. It ruins people. And then with people who actually have the courage and the fortitude and the individual strength to rise up and say, hey, you know what? This might be your choice and I respect it, but it's not my choice anymore. It was, but it's not mine anymore. And then these people, they get so triggered and so charged by it that they try to ruin that person's life. An innocent woman who just wants to live her life, and then they torture her. And this goes on every single day. People are terrified to leave things that are toxic and unhealthy for them because they are so overpowered by communities and cultures and all of this tradition, this steeped in tradition. And you know what? Kirtan is tradition. Singing is tradition. Satsang is tradition. But these traditions have been modified through bhakti and purified through bhakti to say, come as you are. Take it off. Take the mask off. Take the costume off. Stop pretending. Stop being what you think you're supposed to be and be who you are. Be what God created you to be. And be it with all of your being. Don't just be it in this tiny little corner of existence away from everyone where no one can see you. Because then if they were to see you, then they would know. And then if they know, what are they going to do? There's an awesome story from the beginning of the Bhagavad. This is, again, getting into the divine feminine. These 5 brothers, Arjun and his 4 other brothers, they have a wife. Her name's Draupadi. And she's one woman for all 5 brothers, and they all love her very much. And she loves all of them very much. Now you have to kind of get over your stereotypes of all of this, like monogamy and all this stuff. You got to remember this comes from a different time, okay? And to each their own. You know, if one woman wants to love 5 amazing, divine, beautiful men, good on you. Like, score, Draupadi. You kind of just like hit the jackpot with the 5 most amazing men on earth. You don't just get 1, you get 5. I mean, most men would be like, well, if I could have the 5 most amazing women on earth, I'd probably take it. So don't rag on her just because she won and, you didn't. I digress. There's a very special, very pivotal scene in the Mahabharata where Yudhisthira, the oldest brother of the 5 brothers, gets tricked into a gambling match. But that's his one weakness. And his enemies who are plotting to steal his kingdom, know that his weakness is gambling. So they lure him into, through his integrity, they lure him into an innocent game of dice. Through this game of dice, Yudhisthira gambles away everything, every single thing that he has. He gambles away his own kingdom, all of his possessions, and then gambles away all of his brother's freedom and his own freedom. And the last thing that he gambles, wages his wife Draupadi, him and his brother's wife. And his brothers are sitting there and they're like, Yudhisthira, What are you doing? Stop doing this. And because it's because he's been challenged and he gets stuck in the modes of material nature, he thinks that out of goodness, it's like goodness, passion, and ignorance that take over him all at once. He's trying to be in integrity because he's been challenged to a gambling match and he doesn't want to give up his integrity. So he thinks that he's in the mode of goodness. And then the continuous gambling, even though he knows that he's losing and he's gambling away his kingdom and his life, that's passion and it's ignorance. He's passionate thinking that he can win, thinking that he's doing the right thing, but he's so ignorant the whole time. Anyways, he gets to the point where he loses, he gambles and he loses his wife. And one of the evil cousins goes back into Yudhisthira's wife's chambers and says, "You have to come with me right now." She says, "Come with you? What are you talking about? Come with you? You're in my home. What are you doing talking to me like this?" And he's like, "I'll talk to you however I want. Your husband, Yudhisthira, just gambled you away and lost you in a gambling match." She's like, "What are you talking about? My husband gambled me away. My husband doesn't have my permission to gamble me away. I'm my own. What are you talking about?" He says, No. Your husband wagered you in a gambling match in a game of dice and lost you. So now you're coming with me because you don't belong to him anymore." And she was like, "This is nonsense. I want to see my husband." He grabs her by the hair, drags her screaming and crying into the great hall where Yudhisthira and his 4 brothers are sitting there watching and they can't do anything about it. And the whole court is sitting there watching this happen. The king, the king's wife, all royalty is watching this happen, her being completely disrespected. And what happens is she comes in and she's like, "Well, are you guys going to help me?" Oh, she's looking at her husband's like, "What are you going to do? You're going to let them treat me like this?" And they can't do anything about it. And she feels so destroyed and so violated. And they say disrobe her, strip her down. She's no longer royalty. Take off her robes and show her as the slave that she is now. And as this court person is starting to pull off her robes and starting to disrobe her, she throws up her hands and surrenders and just starts chanting to Krishna. Starts saying, "Krishna, I'm so, there's nothing else that I can do. You have to protect me. No one else can protect me except for you." She throws up her hands and just allows it to happen. And what ends up happening is that as this guy is pulling off her robes, the robes just keep going. The robes just keep going. She starts spinning like a dervish. And the robes are coming off, and the robes are coming off, and the robes are coming off, and they never see her naked body. Because Krishna makes it so the robes just stay on. He keeps pulling, keep pulling. She keeps twisting and twisting and twisting. And because she has faith in who she really is, and she calls out to the divine from that place in her heart, she is protected even from all of those around her who would seek to strip her of everything, of her dignity. She is able to surpass that. She's able to hold on to herself. Now, in real life, your robes might come off, but you can never be stripped of that which you are, because it's given to you by divinity and it's taken from divinity. And it is your birthright. Man, woman, child, you have the right to exist because you do. You have the right to live free because you are. And if you are stuck or trapped in circumstances, you need to get out of that, then you have the right to seek out the help and the counsel to get yourself to a place of freedom, of true freedom. You might have to start within. You might have to start it in secret. You might have to start building yourself up and making a plan and discovering yourself and discovering the confidence and discovering the faith and reaching out in secret ways to get in touch with people. I'm like creating this whole underground railroad right now for people in my mind. But for real, like, You have the right to be happy in this life. And you might have been thinking that for a long time you're happy, but the reality is that you're really seeking something else. Your heart is calling out for something else. And you can have that something else. And that's something else that you might be seeking. Like, you might have grown up in a really strict community, and you're desiring to just cut loose and let go and be completely free, be wild, have sex, do drugs, drink alcohol, listen to the radio, watch TV, do all this stuff. Just immerse yourself in material life. That's okay. I've been there. I've been completely immersed in spiritual life, or in in material life. And I learned a lot. I had a lot of really, really, really beautiful experiences. And I think that you can, especially if you come from a place of being so tied up and so trapped inside and out for a long time, you can harvest a lot of beautiful experience from completely going off the rails in your life. I don't advise it for everyone. Some people can't control it. Some people who are addicted or have mental illness and chemical imbalance in their brains and in their bodies, going off the rails is not a choice. They're just off the rails. And it would take a whole lot of intervention and a lot to really get them to a point where they can be safe for themselves. But if you're just looking to experiment and you're looking to grow yourself and to culture yourself, and you want to know what it feels like, to be completely hammered, right? And just like go on out of your mind. Okay, it's there for you. You can try that. God will be sitting back smiling, going, whenever you're ready to come back to me, come back. You want to smoke, you want to drink, you want to fuck, you want to try cocaine, you want to try heroin, you want to do all those things. I don't advocate for any of that. I don't advocate for it. I'm saying, if you feel like that is something that you need to explore in your life in order to feel like a whole human, okay, nobody can take that away from you. And that might be something that you need to do. You might have to take yourself to the very edge of your own existence, to the very edge of your own mortality, in order to see that you never needed any of that in the first place. Because there's plenty of people that have lived without it their whole lives and they've been really happy. And it's not because they've been living in denial. It's not because they've been living isolated and trapped and no one's allowed it for them. It's that they grew up pure. They grew up without having anyone sever the connection in their hearts to divinity. And they've always had people around them loving them, telling them, you're beautiful. You're worthy. You don't need to go and diminish yourself with drugs and alcohol and ridiculous, promiscuous sex. You can just love yourself. The right relationships will happen. Just keep chanting. Just keep being a good person and living on point, living on purpose. Most of us are not born into such families. I don't think we're going to get to much of the Gita today. I mean, we could just keep going for a little while longer. It's whatever. It's Josh TV. Doesn't matter. There's some people that are born into they're very fortunate to be born into families where they support them and they love them as they are. And some people are not so fortunate. And I think a lot of it does have to do with family life and family of origin and how we're raised to believe certain things about ourselves. And I've seen many beautiful people who have just no belief in themselves because of their families. They don't see how beautiful they are. They still think that they're unlovable or that they're unworthy. And it's really hard to see, but at the same time, there's nothing that can be done about that unless they do something about it. And I can support those people all I want, but then it gets to a point where I have to be able to step back and say, hey, your path and my path are different. I'm trying to live on a path that is authentic, and it might not always look perfect on the outside. Might not always come off as the smartest or the most handsome or the strongest or the all-knowing. But I'm okay with that. because this is who I am and this is where I'm at on my journey. And the right people will see me and will know me, and the rest will just be with themselves. That's a hard turn to take. It's a hard bridge to cross, because there might not be many people there for you on the other side, but you'll have yourself. You'll have your integrity. You'll be living from that place of, this is my life. This is my life, given to me, gifted to me by divinity. And I have a choice. I have a choice in how I live that life. And as we've been saying, Bhagavad Gita, all about choices. All about choices. So you make the call. You decide, how do you want to live your life? What path do you want to take? There's an infinite number of paths that you can take. You want to switch religions? Switch religions. You want to leave your partner? Leave your partner. You feel like you need to move to some other place? Move to some other place. You feel like you want to... I hope I'm making this point clearly enough. You are free. It's only your mind and your perception of what you believe that others told you, or what you believe about your family of origin, or what you believe about your culture, that limits you. And even though this is a text from a very specific culture at a very specific time, and it's spoken in a very specific way, the essence of it applies to every single human, because this is a conversation between the divine personality and the human personality. And you can strip away the sexuality, you can strip away the context of the history and all that stuff, and you just look at it and you say, God lives within my heart. I am constantly in a place where I can turn towards divinity and have that conversation. And then I can use the inspiration and the manifestation that comes from that conversation to help put me on a different path, a more authentic path, a path that's more fulfilling, more inspiring, more loving, more generous, more courageous, more powerful. More artistic, more vulnerable, more giving, caring, nurturing, less performance, if at all, less posturing, less attack and defend, more in balance, more in the middle, saying, this is what happens, and it happens because it's meant to happen. And the fact that I'm here and that I'm part of it, I get to witness it, I'm so lucky. So lucky. All that I'm given, all that I lose, all that happens is happening according to a divine plan, and I trust that. I trust it as I trust myself, that I know that everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. So let's read for a little bit. Why not? Let's do an extended satsang today, just because we can, just because we're here. Why not? Haribol, Satnam, Namaste, Aho, cheerio. Feels so good to be in a good mood. If you can today, try to get yourself into a ridiculously dumb good mood and see if it affects anything. Yay! Glad you're here, Claudia. It's awesome. All right. Chapter 14. The three modes of material nature. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, again I shall declare to you this supreme wisdom. So he's already been saying it. He's been saying it again and again and again. He's just been saying it in different ways to try to illuminate the many facets of his infinite potency and eternal nature. I shall declare to you this supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all the sages have attained supreme perfection. By becoming fixed this knowledge, one can attain to the transcendental nature, like my own, and not to be born at the time of creation or disturbed at the time of dissolution. So when you're fixed in the knowledge, it means that you have done your runaround in life. If you're having that desire of seeking alternatives and, experimenting and sowing your royal human oats, you go through all of that, you have all the flip-flop and all the back and forth, and then finally you come back and you say, you know what? After all that time, I realize this is the truth. This is the truth of who I am. This is the truth of reality. This is the truth of eternity. You become rooted in that, fixed in that, grounded in that, and you no longer stray. You no longer doubt it because you get it. This is what it is. Then you attain a transcendental nature like Krishna's. You don't become God. You had the model of divinity giving you all of these opportunities to experience the dynamic depth and the richness of life so that then you can return back to the simplicity of I am. And in that transcendental nature, you realize that birth and death, the cycle of birth and death, are a choice. Whoa. You can choose your birth, you can choose your death. And even if you're not able to get to that point where you're so transcendent that you can choose the moment, the choice that you make in its place is that whatever time it comes, I surrender to Krishna. I surrender to God. I know that this is part of God's plan. I don't need to hold on to life because I can't. It was given to me and it will be taken from me, and I will give it back. And whenever that time comes, I allow and I trust, because if I don't, I'll get stuck in the modes of material nature and I'll suffer trying to escape it, trying to avoid it, trying to avoid that ultimate realization that life or death, life goes on, good or bad, it's all good. Verse 3, the total material substance called Brahman is the source of birth, and in that Brahman I create pregnancy. Thus come the possibilities for the births of all living beings. This is an interesting purport. Let's check this out. The scorpion lays its eggs in piles of rice, and sometimes it is said that the scorpion is born out of rice. But the rice is not the cause of the scorpion. Actually, the eggs were laid by the mother. Similarly, material nature is not the cause of birth in the living entities. The seeds are given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they only seem to come out as products of material nature. Thus, every living entity, according to his past activities, has a different body created by this material nature, so that he can enjoy or suffer according to those deeds. The Lord is the cause of all manifestations of living entities in this material world. So, again, every living entity, according to his past activities, has a different body. So that's karma. What you did then determines what you experience now, and what you do now determines what you will experience later. As you sow, so shall you reap. It should be understood, verse 4, that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed-giving father. Material nature consists of the three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. When the living entity comes in contact with nature, he becomes conditioned by these modes. O sinless one, the mode of goodness, being purer than the others, is illuminating, and it frees from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mode develop knowledge and become conditioned by the sense of happiness. So here he's breaking down the three modes and what it's like to be in them and to experience them, and what the path for liberation now through understanding the modes of material nature is. Here's a good purport. The difficulty here is that when a living entity is situated in the mode of goodness, he or she becomes conditioned to feeling that he or she is advanced in knowledge and is better than others. The best examples are the scientist and the philosopher. Each is very proud of his knowledge, and because he or she generally improves his or her living conditions, he feels a sort of material happiness. This sense of advanced happiness in conditioned life binds him or her to the mode of goodness and of material nature. And as such, he or she is attracted toward working in the mode of goodness, and as long as he or she has an attraction for working in that way, he has to take up some type of body in the modes of nature. There is no likelihood of liberation or of being transferred to the spiritual world. He or she may repeatedly become a philosopher, a scientist, or a poet, and repeatedly be involved in the same disadvantages of birth and death. But due to the illusion of the material energy, he thinks that sort of life is nice. Or she. Oof. See, you could be a good person and then be attached to being a good person. And then you'll just keep coming back through the cycles of life again and again and again as a good person. I mean, what's wrong with that? Why is that a bad thing? In many ways, if I'm going to be caught or ensnared as a human by the modes of material nature, I'd rather be a poet. I'd rather be a philosopher. I'd rather be doing good things than to just be a passionate martyr or an ignorant slave. And then once that becomes tiring, once you get tired of being a person or being an entity, and you just want to reunite back with divinity and not do this anymore, then you detach, I guess. I don't know. Let's learn more about it. Verse 7, the mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings, O son of Kunti, and because of this, one is bound to material fruitive activities. O son of Bharata, the delusion of all living entities is the mode of ignorance. The results of this mode are madness, indolence, and sleep, which bind the conditioned soul. The mode of goodness conditions one to happiness, passion conditions him to the fruits of action, and ignorance to madness. Sometimes the mode of passion becomes prominent, defeating the mode of goodness. And sometimes the mode of goodness defeats passion. Again, sometimes the mode of ignorance defeats goodness and passion. In this way, there is ever a competition for supremacy. The manifestation of the mode of goodness can be experienced when all the gates of one's body are illuminated by knowledge. There are 9 gates, this is the purport. There are 9 gates in the body: 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, the mouth, the genital, and the anus. In the mode of goodness, one can see things in the right perspective and can properly hear and taste. One becomes cleansed inside and out. At every gate, there is development of the symptoms of happiness. That is the position of goodness. That's pretty awesome. Like, even if you can never reach the ultimate enlightened state of Krishna consciousness and never become a devotee, if you're happy, it's kind of cool. 12. Oh, I'm trying to just make this relatable. You know what I mean? Because I don't think that everyone is going to be aspiring to be such a great devotee. I think some of us just want to live our lives and be happy. And whatever we are, we are. So you can be happy as you are, as a philosopher, a scientist, or a poet, or a husband or a wife, or whatever. You just have to be mindful. You have to be very, very, very mindful. Verse 12. O chief of the Bharatas, when there is an increase in the mode of passion, the symptoms of great attachment, uncontrollable desire, and hankering and intense endeavor develop. When there is an increase in the mode of ignorance, madness, illusion, inertia, and darkness are manifested. When one dies in the mode of goodness, he or she attains to the pure higher planets. One who dies in the mode of passion takes birth among those engaged in fruitive activities, and one who dies in the mode of ignorance takes birth in the animal kingdom. Some people have the impression that when the soul reaches the platform of human life, it never goes down again. This is incorrect. According to this verse, if one develops the mode of ignorance after death, they are degraded to the animal form of life. From there, one has to again elevate himself by the evolutionary process to come to the human form of life. Therefore, those who are actually serious about human life should take to the mode of goodness. Oof. By acting in the mode of goodness, one becomes purified. Works done in the mode of passion result in distress, and actions performed in the mode of ignorance result in foolishness. From the mode of goodness, real knowledge develops. From the mode of passion, greed develops. And from the mode of ignorance, foolishness, madness, and illusion develop. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in ignorance go down to the hellish worlds. When you see that there is nothing beyond these modes of nature in all activities, and that the Supreme Lord is transcendental to these modes, then you can know my spiritual nature. So here's the purport. One can transcend all these activities. This is where we're going to leave off. One can transcend all these activities of the modes of material nature simply by understanding them properly, by learning from the proper souls. The real spiritual master is Krishna, and he is imparting this spiritual knowledge to Arjuna. Similarly, it is from those who are fully Krishna conscious that one has to learn the science of the real situation of activities in terms of the modes of material nature. Otherwise, life is very wrong. By the instruction of a bona fide spiritual master, the living entity can know his spiritual position, his material body, his senses, and how he's entrapped, and how under the spell of material modes of nature, he is helpless, being in the grip of these modes. But when he can see his real position, he can attain to the transcendental platform, having the scope for spiritual life. Actually, the living entity is not the performer of different activities. He is forced to act because he is situated in a particular type of body, conducted by some particular mode of material nature. Unless one has the help of spiritual authority, he cannot understand what position he's actually in. But with the association of a bona fide spiritual master, he can see his real position, and by such an understanding, he can become fixed in full Krishna consciousness. A man or a woman in Krishna consciousness is not controlled by the spell of the material modes of nature. It has already been stated in the 7th chapter that one who has surrendered to Krishna is relieved from the activities of material nature. Therefore, one who is able to see things as they are, the influence of material nature slowly ceases. I am willing to bet. I'm willing to bet that there are plenty of devotees out there in the mode of passion and ignorance. I am willing to bet with green money that there are many devotees to this Krishna out there in this world who are looking down on others, who are in their minds and in their hearts not living according to these principles. And therefore, even though they have approached the bona fide spiritual master, even though they have taken Bhakti Yoga as their savior, even though they live in the temple and they chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra 15 times a day, and even though they have shaved their heads, and even though they eat the vegetarian diet, and even though they might respect all of the holidays and all of the rituals and all of the yajnas, I am willing to bet that these people in their hearts are not yet saved. I don't care. I don't care if you surrender your life to Krishna. I don't care what you do. You are not tied to anything except divinity. And if you can humble yourself, if you can stop looking at the clothes that you wear, the books that you read, the people that you associate with, as what defines you. You don't find in your heart your own unique calling. See, I think a lot of devotees, this is judgment. This is extreme judgment. I think a lot of devotees see themselves through the mode of goodness as better than others. And they use Krishna consciousness to elevate themselves in places where they feel weak, places where they feel helpless, where they feel disconnected and they feel detached. And it's a real lack of a sense of self. And it's not something that I can say that any person has particularly admitted to me. There are many devotees who are very pure and who are truly, truly trying to live on a right path. And this goes for all religions. This goes for all religions. A devotee does not just have to be a devotee of Krishna consciousness. It could be a Christian devotee, it could be a Jewish devotee, it could be a Hindu, an Islamic devotee. You could be like your devotion to the Lord. That's what being a devotee is. It's being devoted to the Lord, being devoted to the truth. But some people, they're still people. And if you listen to their energy, if you listen from your heart to their energy, you can tell. You can tell. It's still just an outfit. Spirituality is still just an outfit. It's a way of detaching. And I don't buy into that. I just don't. I think that it's simpler than that. I think that liberation is something that happens in the heart, that happens in the mind. It's not about what you wear. And it might take all of that stuff. It might take changing your clothes and changing your community and shifting out of all that in one direction or another. But it's got to come from your heart. It's got to come from your heart. And I know that I have judgments. I know that I have my own stuff, but I'm honest about that. And I'm continuously working on it. And I'm not hiding or copping out behind Krishna consciousness, trying to say that because I'm striving to achieve Krishna consciousness or because I'm striving to, become an enlightened, bhakti yogi, that all that stuff doesn't exist anymore. That now all of a sudden I'm better than others who aren't on that path. And now I'm on the way to liberation and you're not. No. No. I have my flaws, I have my shortcomings, and I have my doubts. I have fear, I have longing, I have my humanity. And I respect the devotees. I do. I really, really do. I respect and I love the devotees. And I believe that it takes such strength and it takes such commitment to step into the life of a devotee, to really wholeheartedly give yourself over to transcendence. That is amazing. And there are some devotees who really are doing this wholeheartedly. And then there are many who are not yet ready because they still want to experience the material life. I don't know. There was when I was in college, so I'm going to leave you off of this. When I was in college, I met this woman who, she was talking about because she's kosher, she's never had a cheeseburger. And all of us were like, well, that's too bad. Cheeseburgers are awesome. She was like, yeah, but I've never had one, so I would never know. It doesn't matter to me. It might be delicious to you. It could taste like it could taste like anything, whatever it tastes like, but it doesn't matter to me. I've never tasted it, so it doesn't matter. If it's good or bad, I don't care. I've never had it. I'm not going to have it. I think that's like, that's the perspective of a pure devotee. when it comes to wanting to engage in material life or not, a pure devotee will say, yeah, I know that drugs and alcohol and promiscuous sex and all that stuff, or sex out of wedlock, I don't want to call it promiscuous, but sex out of marriage, not according to religious principles. I know all that stuff exists. Doesn't matter though. Not to me. I've never experienced it. I don't need to experience it. I don't need to know what it feels like. What I have is enough. Having Krishna is enough. Having divinity, having my small circle, having these things that I do. I experience joy through chanting and through singing. I experience joy through being with my community and knowing that I'm around people that are like-minded, that support me and that love me. That is beautiful. That's beautiful. And there's so much strength in that. There's so much strength in saying, no, I'm steadfast in my spiritual life. I'm steadfast in my path. And, if you're going to experience that, that's beautiful. And I love you. No, I'm not. That, to me, is the attitude of a pure devotee, where there truly is no judgment. There is there's no separation. And there's also no desire to stray, no desire to lower or to shift. So, come as you are. Svadhyaya, self-study. Look into your heart. Ask yourself, what is my calling? What is my dharma? Am I making choices that are aligned with that dharma, that are aligned with that truth, or am I still living according to my conditioning? And I implore you, I invite you to step outside the realms of your conditioning, even if it's just to entertain the possibility in your own mind. What would it be like? What would it be like to live the life of your dreams? What would it be like to truly step into your grace and your power? And it's a step-by-step process. It doesn't happen all at once. Believe me, all of my grace and all of my power are not invested into this YouTube channel yet. I'm still developing myself. And yes, I have this idea, I'm 39 years old, I should have it all together. I should look more. I shouldn't be just sitting here in a sweatshirt with a beanie on and, sitting on my floor. Everything should be cleaned up. Everything should be set. Everything should be in a certain way. You know what that is? That's the perfectionist in me telling me that once I get it perfect, then I'll be able to do all this stuff. The devotee in my heart to this practice says, it doesn't have to be perfect. God doesn't care if it's perfect. You're already perfect. If people are only looking at the material circumstances, then they don't understand the essence of what's going on here. But that's okay. It's okay. You're the star of your own movie. You're the lead in your own play. However you take the steps towards realizing and embodying and accepting your own divinity is exactly what you need to do. And it does not have to be perfect. It does not have to be all put together, but just take the steps. You want to learn to play guitar? Buy a guitar. You want to learn to sing? Start singing. You want to start a business? Start the business. You want to find a relationship? Start dating. You want to make money? Stop spending. Start saving. The challenge is going to be getting out of your own way, taking an inventory of your conditioning, taking an inventory of your beliefs, and saying, what am I waiting for? Why do I think it has to be perfect? Why do I think that I have to be perfect? And maybe that's not what you have. Maybe you just think that nobody will care. As perfect as you are, nobody will care. Maybe, but you care. You care about this, and you caring about it, wanting to have that business or wanting to have that relationship or wanting to do that thing is enough. It can just make you happy. It doesn't have to make anybody else happy. So go after it. And if you need help, or if you need encouragement, you need inspiration, or you need someone to help you kind of talk through these steps of like, all right, how do I take inventory of my beliefs and my conditioning? How do I learn how to overcome that and get to the voice of my heart? And then once I learn how to get to the voice of my heart, how do I trust it? How do I trust it and start taking some manageable, actionable steps to actually living my truth and living on purpose? I'm here to help. Just reach out. You can send me an email, or you can drop a comment here. And and if you dig this, subscribe. And I do this almost every day, and it's a really fun practice. And I hope that it's providing whatever benefit it provides, but it makes me happy, and it's all about me. So. Wow. I wonder how I'm going to feel looking back on this after all this quarantine stuff is over. I mean, could we ever have imagined that we would be in this circumstance? Could we ever freaking imagine that we would be here? And every day I say, I'm so thank you so much for doing this, because you forced me to go within, and you forced me to do all this. COVID, Krishna 19. That's what I'm going to start calling it. I'm going to start calling it Krishna 19. I'm not calling it COVID anymore. Krishna 19. What is the update? Fox News on Krishna 19. I want you to crack yourself up as much as I crack myself up. I want you to have as much fun with your life as I'm having fun with my life right now. And when you're sad, I want you to be fully sad. When you're angry, I want you to be fully angry. I want you to feel that and embody that and go, thank you. Thank you for the ability to feel this, and what's it teaching me, and how can I grow, and how can I learn? And this anger will come and go. This sadness will come and go. This madness will come and go, because in the depths of me, I'm a good person, and I know that I'm a good person. And good people can experience negative emotions, and it doesn't make us negative, bad people. So, with that being said, thank you so much for sharing your time and attention with me today. Sending you a lot of love through this Krishna 19 debacle that we're in. May you remember that it is a gift for you. It is a divine teaching, and that you are being called to turn to the voice in your heart, discover your dharma, and live your truth. As we bow our heads, saying thank you to the body, thank you to this space, thank you to all of our teachers, and thank you to the spiritual science of yoga and the Bhagavad Gita. Touching our thumb knuckles to our forehead. Thank you for sharing your practice with me today, extended version, and thank you for letting me serve you. Aho, namaste, word up, enjoy your day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.